Creativity in the Age of COVID with Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper. It's the only program in which therapy and entertainment come together to show everyone not only how to cope in the age of COVID, but how to be creatively productive through it all. And now, Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper.
Happy April, everyone, and welcome to Creativity in the Age of COVID with Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper.
Who's who?
I'm sorry?
Who's who?
Who's who today? I am Dr. Blume today. I've always wanted to be a doctor. My mom and dad will finally be proud of me. But this is a very special April Fool's show that we're doing today. Before we begin, we are still in the midst of COVID. But we're coming out of it. I want to ask how you're doing, Richard.
Well, I think Richard is doing great. He's all sparkly today.
I'm all sparkly.
And I'm doing well too. Hope is on the horizon, and it really feels good. I've had both of my shots, so I'm feeling a whole lot more confident about things and starting to plan travel. So.
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I have a past life. For 20 years, I performed all over the world, essentially, as Carol Channing. That world I've left behind me. But what I haven't left behind are the friendships and the relationships that I've made with so many of the great lookalikes and impersonators from that field. And this idea for today's show came to me, believe it or not, in a dream. And I thought, what a great idea for April Fool's Day to bring on some of the greatest fools in the world. And when I say that with the utmost respect, because what they do is they are constantly fooling other people. And if you think that it's easy walking in the shoes of a celebrity, trust me when I tell you this, you are badly mistaken. Because first of all, when you are appearing as a celebrity, whether it be Madonna or Barbra Streisand or Dolly Parton or Jack Nicholson or Robert De Niro or Judi Blume or Richard Skipper, the moment you step out into that spotlight, you have to deliver the goods. And our first star today is the one and only Madonna. While we're waiting for her to come on, I will give a little sample of some of her work. And wow, does she blow me away every time I see her. Here is Madonna. I am going to start this again. So I don't know why we're having the glitch. This is what happens when you're doing a live show. But Madonna, you're here. Of course, this is Cody Alexander. And Cody, you and I met years ago when I was doing the IGCETA convention in Las Vegas. And you not only perform as Madonna, but you also do Christina Aguilera.
No, that's not one of them. There's a lot. I know it's hard to remember, but that's not one of them.
Who are all the ones that you do perform as?
Okay, so I do Madonna, Lady Gaga, Gwen Stefani, and Marilyn.
I can see all of them. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Hopefully today, just Madonna.
Well, and Cody Alexander. So when you started in this business, did you actually start out to just, for lack of just putting a label on this, being an entertainer, or did you want to go on and perform as these other celebrities that you perform as?
Well, I got the position as Madonna. It was kind of a weird way that I got that position. But as far as the other characters go, I just looked at it like money in the bank. How do you continue this when maybe one of your characters is not happening at the moment? And how do you make a living at it? Look, I've never had a real job. I only do this. So I was always recreating myself, sort of like Madonna.
So, Cody, are you singing or are you lip syncing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. All the characters, I sing live. I don't choose characters that I can't sing, like Christina Aguilera. Only ones that work for my voice and my, tenor. So, yeah.
Well, just amazing. And did you ever want to just pursue a singing, performing career just as Cody? I mean, did that?
Well, no, that really wasn't my thing. I wanted work. I wanted to work every day, and we have the honor of working 6 nights a week when we do these celebrity tribute shows. And I've been in 2 of the biggest ones in Las Vegas for, 8 to 10 years each. So I really, love that. I love going somewhere every day and having a job.
But when one thing that you talk about in your bio is the fact that you suffered from severe stage fright, and you were able to overcome that. And you actually teach courses not only for entertainers, but for business people who do go into other jobs other than show business on how to combat stage fright. What are the basics for starting with someone who really suffers from this?
Well, I'll just tell you a little bit of my secret and my issue. And that was that I put too much importance into it. And I had realized that I was a perfectionist. And although that works for putting stuff together, and I know it has its benefits, but in my case, it had really put a lot of pressure on me. So I wanted everybody to love me 150%, and I'm in a tribute show, so there's several characters and they might not be there for you. So one day I realized that even if you're Celine Dion, the real Celine Dion, not 100% of the world loves you. It might be 90%, So when I realized that maybe not everybody loves a huge star, an amazing singer like Celine Dion, why do they have to love me that much? Seriously.
Well, Carol Channing once said to me, for every person who likes you, there are an equal number who don't. And
I love that.
And the sooner you can accept it, the easier it is to go through life dealing with those things. Now, speaking of loving and getting a love for one another, I want to bring on Dolly Parton and Jack Nicholson. Now, some people may not realize it, but they are married. Of course, C.J. Morgan and Jack Bufford are married to each other. What is it like in your household on any given night? And there are so many thoughts that run through my head. I could be arrested over some of them.
Yeah, I'll bet you could. What it's like in our house on any given night, I like to consider that we're just a couple of goobers sitting around. She's on the computer, I'm watching TV. Our life is not that much different than anybody else's.
Now, I want to ask
people.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're just normal people.
Now, CJ, how did the two of you meet at one of the conventions, or did you know each other before you went into this realm of your life? Did you decide to do this later on? How did it all begin for the two of you?
Well, she and I met at the Sunburst Convention in Orlando, Florida. I believe it was 2011 or somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. she was doing a showcase that year, and I was just a spectator. I met her in the outer room afterwards, and we talked for a couple minutes. But it was, "Hi, how you doing? Good showcase. Nice to see you. See you later." And I was on my way outside to have a cigar.
You need to know that he was not a Dolly Parton fan, and I was not a Jack Nicholson fan.
No, I thought Dolly Parton was the person that did the voiceover for Minnie Mouse. That's all I knew.
With all due respect to Dolly, we know that she didn't.
Yeah, right.
I had never seen a Jack Nicholson movie.
Now, one of the things that I want to mention, since you do bring up the Sunburst Convention, I want to give a shout out to Greg Thompson, who runs the Sunburst Convention every year. I unfortunately never got to it because I really left the business before that began to take off. But I love going to IGCTA in Las Vegas because I truly found a sense of community, not a sense of competitiveness. At least that wasn't my experience. Do you both feel the same way about that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The first convention I ever went to was the one in Las Vegas many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what to expect at all. I wasn't looking to really get into this business. I owned a Volkswagen dealership for 26 years. And on my retirement, my youngest daughter said, she had heard this all these years, people coming up, "You know who you look like," and all that. She said, "You ought to go to that convention in Las Vegas." And all I heard was, "Go to Las Vegas." Okay, so I'm out of here. I went out there and I registered for the convention, and I was having those same thoughts. This is going to be a horribly competitive world. I am not ready to be competitive with anyone. But I got in there and I found it a very nice situation. Everybody was very warm and friendly, and it was like a family.
And Jack, I have a question for you and CJ. Once you put your foot in the water, I know that CJ, you were already a part of this world. Did work begin to happen right away for you, Jack? I know that you've done commercials. You've worked a lot with Robert De Niro, who we're going to be bringing on a little later. But did work begin to happen right away, or did you really have to pursue it?
Well, I had to pursue it. Matter of fact, I remember driving home. I was living in Colorado. So driving home from the convention in Las Vegas, I had a really good time the 3 or 4 days that I was there. I thought it was just spectacular. But on my way home, the reality started to set in. Where am I going to use this in Colorado? And, not knowing all the ins and outs of the industry at that time, I was really kind of lost on that. But on my way home, I happened to think about an article I saw in it was called Thrifty Nickel newspaper, the, Penny Saver or whatever it is, where anybody else lives.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an ad in there for the Halloween masquerade ball at the Stanley Hotel called the Shining Ball. So I got a hold of the people when I got home. I called the Stanley Hotel, and after several attempts, I finally got through to the hotel manager. Asked her if they would be interested in having a Jack Nicholson impersonator at their Shining Ball. And she said, "Oh, I don't know. Do you have a headshot you could send us?" I said, "Sure, I'll do that." So I got a headshot and I stuck it in an envelope with some information, and I mailed it off to the hotel. 3 days later, my phone started ringing off the hook. I could tell by the caller ID that it was, we didn't have cell phones back then, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell by the caller ID in my house that it was a Stanley Hotel. So I answered it, and it was the manager of the hotel, and she said, "When can you be up here?" This was a Monday. I said, "Well, I'll come up Wednesday." She said, "We want to take you to lunch and show you around the hotel and everything." And so I went up that Wednesday. We had lunch, and while we were sitting at the table having lunch, we wrote up a contract that lasted for 10 years.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, I want to ask you, CJ, Dolly, how did you get started in this business?
I was already a musician. I had been a musician for since I was about 15, playing keyboards in different clubs and stuff with in a band with my brother. So I was already a musician, and my son was bartending at a bar. I was living in Tennessee. I have deep roots in Tennessee. My son was tending bar, and they had something called Night of $1,000. And part of that was they had a Dolly Parton lookalike contest. My son called me up. I was working a day job, and he said, "Mom, I think you ought to come down to the club tonight. I think you'd really enjoy it," because he knew that I always liked Dolly Parton music. And my first instinct was to say no. I was tired. But then I thought, well, how often does your adult son invite you to this club? And so I went down there. I thought, well, I'll stay for about 10 minutes and then I'll go on home. And while I was holding up the wall, leaning up against the wall, about 3 people came by and asked me if I was going to be in the Dolly Parton lookalike contest. And I told them no. And then finally, after the third one, I went and found whoever was in charge and asked them about it. And I said, "Is there going to be a Dolly Parton lookalike contest?" He said, "Yeah, you should be in it." And I was not dollied up, as they say. But I went home. I went home real quick and got as dollied up as I knew how. I hadn't ever done it before. Went back and I won it hands down. And then a friend of ours, I was living in Sevierville, Tennessee, which is Dolly Parton's home stomping ground. And some friends of mine that knew Dolly and had worked with her, and they started a little tour bus company, and they wanted to, their slogan was "From Dolly Parton to Davy Crockett." And they wanted me to be in a parade riding on the bus as Dolly. And my first instinct was to say, "Who's going to believe I'm Dolly?" They said, "It doesn't matter. You're not going to be that close to people anyway." So I got as dollied up as I knew how to then, rode the bus, and sure enough, everybody thought it was Dolly. The press got right down into the door of the bus, and word got out the next day that Dolly had been in the parade. But it didn't really kick in until I actually met Dolly herself, and the first thing out of her mouth was, "No, we could be sisters." And at that, the friend that was with me said, "You need to be taking this more seriously." And once I did that, and once I went to the convention and met with Greg and everybody, and I developed a website and started marketing it, it started happening fairly quickly. I work a lot in Nashville.
What CJ's not telling you is that contest that she entered at that bar that night, she won that contest 6 out of the next 7 years. So.
Wow. Well, we're going to bring on our next guest, but before we do, Richard, do you have any questions for any of our guests?
Yeah, I'm wondering how, well, CJ, you alluded to it, having met Dolly, how she reacted to you. I'm wondering about the rest of you, have you met the people that you're impersonating and how they react to being impersonated?
Number one question everybody always asks. No, I have never met Jack. I've never had the pleasure. I wish I had. I've been in the same building that he's been in a couple of times, but never got close enough to meet him.
All right. Well, I know his daughter, one of his daughters. So.
Basically, there was a movie that Madonna was doing. It was another documentary, sort of a take on Truth or Dare, which was called the Reinvention Tour. And it was off one of her tours that was in Vegas. And sure enough, she had a crew and they found me somehow. And they came and followed me around for a couple of days. So they got quite a bit of footage on me. At the time, I was in between shows. So I didn't have a nice platform where I'm under the lights with the dancers all around me and all that amazing stuff with the live band. But I did end up at Jon Stewart's ranch doing a performance that they got live. And and I didn't ever meet her, but so I believe that maybe I'm, I was on the cutting room floor somewhere that she saw, she saw me. I didn't get to see her.
Well, I'm going to try this again. I've got a clip, I hope, of our next guest. And then you will all meet Barbra Streisand, something we all want to do anyway, on the other side. Here she is.
Lovers are very special people. Your soul says you are half, now you're whole. No more hunger and thirst. First be your person, honey, be mine. People who need me peace and quiet and open air wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us. Someday there'll be a time for us.
She's like butter.
Hello.
Hello. That, of course, is Carla Del Villaggio. And thank you for being here. It's been years. I saw Carla. First of all, I met her when I was out in Vegas, but I saw her here in New York. Can you believe it's been 11 years?
No.
It's been 11 years. I looked it up today. But you haven't aged a bit. Yeah. Hello, welcome here. And you can, I want to tell everyone, of course, that is Carla doing her own singing. She has an operatic background, a highly trained singer. And if you could just tell us how Barbra started for you.
You said I have a background and, I studied opera for years and always considered myself an opera singer. And then, you kind of age out of it at some point, sometimes. So, I'm trying to think of my Reader's Digest version of this. I met my husband and he liked to sing karaoke. We would go sing karaoke, but the only thing I could think to sing were her songs. Inevitably, somebody would come up and say, has anybody ever told you you look a little bit, you know? And I didn't think anything of it until my husband thought, I think he heard ching in the background. He said, I think you need to look into this, you know. And I thought it was ridiculous. It took me a while to finally get my stuff together, and I went to the Sunburst Convention and tried it out.
Greg Thompson, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just so kind there. But because I was a wreck, and I thought this is a really dumb idea. So that was 2005 was my first time there. So it's just kind of evolved. It was not my idea, and he likes to know that he can take credit for that.
Now, Dr. Bloom, do you have any questions? I've got questions for everybody based on my years in the business that are specific, but you may have questions that you would like to ask of any of our guests as well.
I'm wondering about the competition. Okay, what that's like for you, going up against and meeting other people who are impersonating the same people that you are. And really what that's like for you individually. So,
And before you answer that, I would like to build upon what you just asked, because with all of you, and let's face it, everyone, we've got the best of the best here, but there are other people out there who also perform as Madonna, who also perform as Barbara, Dolly, and Jack. So building upon what Dr. Bloom is asking, dealing with that aspect of it as well.
I have an answer.
Okay.
You know what I believe? I believe that there is a job for everyone. We're either at expert status or we're just starting out, and there's a price point for all those things as well. So you could do a backyard party where, it pays very little, but you're brand new. So that's the perfect element for you to be getting started with that. And, like, for instance, Chris America and I, she did a lot of corporate work. I did a lot of shows. So we weren't really crossing each other's, markets. So I think there's room for everyone,
Thank you for saying that. I really do appreciate that. That's very important. Anyone else?
I agree with that. I mean, there really is a niche for everyone, and I think Cody, you said it exactly right. That, if you're starting out, there's going to be something for you. As you move along, there'll be something for others. And I've run into wonderful colleagues that do the same character, if you will. And it's just so it's wonderful to know everyone else, and everybody's got their own thing, their own way of doing it, which is great. Nobody's copying each other, but there's respect.
Now, Dr. Bloom, I'm going to put our next guest on the spot. I want you to ask him the same question, and I hope he's going to give the answer that I want to hear.
Okay.
So here he is. So ask Robert De Niro what you've asked everybody else.
All right, Robert. My question was competition. How is it for you being around other Robert De Niros?
Well, I'm not. No, that was a joke. Well, no, really, I am not, but I mean, there are others in the business. Okay. Seriously, there's like 2 or 3 of us. Unfortunately, and I feel bad because he was a good buddy of mine, Joe Manuelo. We just lost him last year. And he was the first guy doing this character, God bless his soul. Real good guy. It's funny, Joe and I, because we were the 2 basically really working a lot.
Robert, can you turn your mic up? Robert, can you turn your mic, your speaker up just a little louder, or your mic?
Let me see here. Hold on.
Let me see if I can do something here for your mic. I may be able to see if I can adjust that on my end.
Let's see here.
Robert's always been such a quiet guy.
Well, I will say this is a shock to me because I knew Joe. I did not know that he had passed away, so I'm sad to hear that. But anyway, getting back to you, Robert.
He's muted, I think.
I know I just unmuted him.
Am I okay now?
Yes.
Are you guys
You
live?
can hear me.
Yes.
You talking to me?
That's the answer I was looking at before.
Well, you were going to get it eventually.
Oh, no, come in there.
Yeah, your mic is still really low. I don't know if
Your mic is very, very low, Robert.
Hold on. I don't know how to adjust this thing on here.
Just speak closer to the camera, and we may be able to hear you a little bit better. Come in for that close-up.
That's right.
A little bit. Oh, yeah, that's all you need.
There you
That's
go.
much better. That's great.
That's much better.
Okay.
Yo.
So, how did it begin? How did it begin for you, Robert?
Well, my story is pretty much a common tale of a lot of people. However, it's interesting. When I was getting into this professionally, I was on something called what do they call that? Unemployment, and I was getting ready to lose everything. I was on my last week's check, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Now, I've been an actor for many years and an impressionist doing a lot of voices and characters, but with the look, naturally, this is the one I had to kind of go with. So there was a little thing called the Mob Experience at the Tropicana Hotel back in Las Vegas, where I actually the one I had to kind of go with. So there was a little. What happened was I had
Robert. Do you have any other devices open? Is your phone open?
No.
We're getting you doubled.
It might be my TV came back on. Let me see. Can you check the TV? There
I'm
might
getting
be.
a lot of feedback. Sorry about that. It is April Fool's Day, everyone. Yes.
Just kidding. Bye.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We good?
No, there's a delay with everything. Okay, Robert.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is that better? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody's probably got their microphone on. I mean, their speakers on.
Yes. Yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback. I'm going to try to mute everybody here for a moment and see if we can get you better. So, yes. Okay, now Robert.
Okay. 1, 2. There.
Yes, that's better.
Okay. Where did I leave off? That,
Well, let's start again because I think we missed all of that.
So start from the beginning?
Yes.
Oh boy. Sorry, Jack. Anyhow. So what happened was I was on unemployment. It was a time where jobs were being taken back like 2008 or something like that, 2009, and businesses were bad. And so I was on unemployment for a while. The checks were running out, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, literally thinking I got to get something going here. And so work was tight. You know, you got what you could when you could, but it wasn't really out there for actors especially. And so there was this thing called the Mob Experience in Las Vegas at the Tropicana Hotel. I heard about them through some friends and such. And what happened was I thought, hey, this would be kind of a neat idea. I went and found an old suit at a thrift shop that would resemble Robert De Niro's character Ace Rothstein in Casino. I bought it, put it on. I crashed a party that they were doing, a pre-party for the opening of this this exhibit, and people were looking at me going, who the heck is this guy? Where'd he come from? And next thing I know, somebody started saying, yeah, who hired the De Niro guy? Who hired the De Niro guy? I kept hearing the De Niro guy. And thusly, that's how I got my website name. However, going back, some lady walks up to me and I'm thinking, all right, here we go. They're kicking me out. She's got her clipboard and her pen. And she goes, excuse me, sir. I went, yeah, how you doing? And I stayed in character the whole time. It was kind of fun. She goes, could you do me a favor? I need you to walk me to the front of the stage up there. I went, yeah, absolutely. So I walked up the stage, got on stage, took the microphone from the guy, whoever was talking to everybody, did a little intro, a welcome, and, everybody, make sure you pitch in, do your thing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Have a good evening. All right. Remember to tip the waiters. All right. And I'm out of here. And I walked away. The next thing I know, about 12 people in suits were following me out of the room. And they says, where'd you come from? What's going on here? Do you want a job? I'm like, yeah, okay. And I kind of started from there.
That's a great story.
After that, I
Dr.
was
Bloom,
the
do you have any
ambassador of the mod experience. So
Right. So do you still work for the Mob Experience? I've been there in Vegas. It's fun.
no, they closed down many years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was an actual real life situation. There was some serious embezzlement going on. Not that I can really tell you too much about it. You follow me?
Now, I have a question for each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Cody. I want to know from your perspective, if you could fill people in on what do you think the biggest misconception is about those in this profession, those who are looking?
Oh,
Yeah.
I love this question. All right. So first of all, when you're telling, I don't tell people that I'm an impersonator because it's that look on their face like, what? And it's kind of a strange thing to most people, that they don't understand how much joy that we bring to people. But not only that, it's just, and I know all of you in the panel here will agree that it takes an immense amount of work, dedication, experience in other things. Like you have a background in opera, Barbara Streisand, and you're from Nashville, CJ, and there's and I grew up dancing, so I had the dance ability, and actually kind of learned how to sing along the way, but it just takes a lot of dedication, especially if you want to make money at it. So I used to get this comment, like, I don't know if people said, what was the stupidest comment? Like sometimes you're in a show and they say, well, do you live here? And well, nobody believes anybody lives in Las Vegas, but it's true. People do live here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is just, do you do this for a living? Like it's lame or something. And I want to say, I make 6 figures. So do you? That's what I want to say to these people. But, you have to stay in character. So.
And Dolly and Jack, same question.
I think that we're proud of doing this. In fact, Jack and I we wrote a book and we're working on another one. And it includes a lot of our celebrity impersonator friends. Barbara Streisand is in it. Hi, Carla. We're working on another one. And we did that in conjunction with, we don't get to work together very often because Dolly Parton and Jack Nicholson are not an item. Now, if he was a Kenny Rogers, it might be different.
Right.
But,
There's not a lot of call for the devil and the angel,
We don't get to work together very often. So we wrote this book and we started doing speaking engagements because we get so many questions about what we do. It's an unusual career choice. Not everybody can do it.
Now, I have a comment here from Greg Thompson, and I'm going to present this to you, Carla, so you can respond to this. He says, I believe the biggest misconception of tribute is that the person is such a big fan of the celebrity that they decide that they must become that person. Or that
Some of them do.
Or they can, that's true, that's true. Or they can make it on their own. I mean, and I will say this, when I performed as Carol Channing, and I was in the documentary Carol Channing Larger Than Life, they came to my home and they wanted to film me putting my makeup on. And I specifically asked that I not do it in my home because I didn't want to give people the idea that I dressed like this around the house. So I said, come to the next time I'm performing and we'll film from there, which is what they did. But let's start with you, Barbara and Carla, and what your thoughts are on that. And then, and if you can just put it out there to people, because I know you outside the persona as well, that when the show is over and you're not doing our show, you're not always dressed like this.
That is true. I think there is a bit of a misconception about that. And I'm sure the rest of you guys have had the same questions. Obviously, have you met your celebrity? Have you always liked that? In my case, I've always loved her. It was never anything, as I said before, never anything I would have thought to do because it was, it seemed like an impossibility. So, you have to try to field those questions along the way. What was the last part of your questions?
About turning it off when it's at the end, the performance of.
Well, I teach at a college here in Orlando. I teach voice, private voice, as well as I direct an opera theater workshop. And there have been times when she would just sneak in. She would sneak in, and I would do a something or whatever, and they'd go, Barbara, just for a little gesture. But for the most part, right. As soon as you're off stage, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. When you put the stuff on, you just feel it. But obviously, taking it off is okay. Now I can go back to being me, and leave the Brooklyn accent behind in my case. But I love it.
Now, I have a question for you, Robert. Because the look is so uncanny. Have you ever had a situation where someone came up to you thinking that you were Robert De Niro? You explain to them that you're not, but they react in an odd way, because that's happened to other people I know in this business. So if you'd like to expound on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, here's a real funny, I wouldn't say funny, but it's actually endearing. Jack and I, we worked the fair circuit around the States, and we're at one of the fairs, and this little lady comes up to me, and, we're advertised as impersonators. We're lookalikes. It is what it is. And we're strolling around, and we're taking the pictures, and the whole thing. And some little lady, bless her heart, she had to be about maybe 4'9". She walks up, she goes, "Oh my God." And she started tearing. I'm like, "Oh, what happened? What'd I do?" She goes, "You are my favorite actor in the world. Can I hug you?" And I felt so bad. I was like, "Yeah, well, I didn't feel bad, but I did." So I said, "Of course. I gave her a hug, She's like, "Oh, this is the greatest moment of my life." I said, "Well, I don't want to ruin anything for you." She goes, "What?" And I said, "No, have a great day." And I just let it go, because you take something out of somebody, and it just spoils everything. Yeah, Jack can vouch.
Oh, absolutely. That kind of thing happens all the time. I think in Robert and my cases, the rest of you are talking about taking it off and walking away. We roll out of bed looking like this, So I tell people, I have taken more pictures with people in front of the butter at Walmart than you could ever imagine. And that's something that it kind of, it's the way it is for us. So it would be nice to be able to take off this face. Actually, I had a woman ask me one time if I could put on my other face. I absolutely did not know what she was talking about. Like, I kept a spare face in the dresser drawer up in my hotel room. But no, we're stuck with this. This is what it is.
I have seen people argue with Jack. I'm not who you think I am. Stand there and argue with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people have followed him into the restroom asking for pictures.
I gave a guy my business card one day because he was acting like an idiot, and just to let him know that I wasn't who he thought I was. And I gave him my card, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, you just carry these around to throw people off. So you can't even tell them the truth and have it accepted."
Well,
has been to your advantage. Like, have you gotten stopped by a cop for speeding or something, and they said, "Oh, you're Jack Nicholson," or "Oh, you're Robert De Niro."
Oh, that's happened. But it's not just this profession. A lot of performers on Broadway, fans. There's a reason why they're called fans. They become fanatical about almost an ownership with each of you. Mm-hmm. I do want to talk, before we do run out of time eventually, this is creativity in the age of COVID. And of course, all of us have been affected by the last year with COVID and everything. We all know the obvious, with the work stoppage, and all of our careers have pretty much been diminished. Although I want to say Cody has an online series on YouTube, which I do watch, by the way, about the business, and it's really incredible. And I highly recommend that to everyone who's watching, whether you're in this aspect of the business or not. You will glean so much from that. And the people that you bring on the show are so wonderful. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you.
And maybe I've just answered my next question, but what is the biggest impact beyond the obvious that the past year has had on your not only your career, but in respect to Dr. Bloom, who's here as well, also on your psyche?
Was that for me?
That's for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of went into survival mode. Instantly, I had the whole year booked. The beginning of January, by March, I had the whole year booked all the way to New Year's Eve, and I was producing 3 shows that were going to go, out on tour, and it ended. So the first thing I did was try to be creative and figure out how can I take this and turn it into an online situation? And, I kind of decided not to do it. In the beginning, I was rehearsing all kinds of songs. I had all these show, themes in mind. And instead, I decided to talk to my friends. And that's how the On the Edge of Entertainment web series was born. And that's just been fun for me. But I struggled to work in various ways, doing small cameos and different things virtually, Zoom and all that. But, what I ended up doing was I hunkered down on a business that I had been building for several years. But because I was so busy with different jobs for the last few years, I didn't have time to quite, finish it. So I just hunkered down and I decided to finish creating this business, which is a business online with 5 products built for entertainers who are starting out or veterans who need advice. But listen, I've done 12,000 live stage shows, and I've done productions all over the world. And I really feel like I'm in a fortunate position now to give back what I have learned. And you mentioned one thing, which was the stage fright course. And, after putting it out there, I find out from all of my friends that they too have stage fright. So I have this incredible book. It's got it's actually a digital course. It's got over 40 videos. It's got assessments and tools. And I don't know if y'all know, but I ended up getting a master's degree in education. So I really felt like I had the ability to do this and was inspired to do so in about 2017. So I finalized that and I launched it back in October. So please go to my page, yobizshowbiz.com, and check it out, and see if there's something there that I can help you with.
And now is the time to do this, folks, because we will come through this. And people are going to, it was just announced yesterday that Phantom of the Opera has opened its casting to open call casting. So anybody from the comfort of your home can submit a video to be considered for Christina or other roles in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. Be ready when we get to the other side. And Dolly and Jack, CJ and Jack, I'd like to ask you the same question. What is the biggest impact that the past year has had on the top of the two of you, beyond the obvious things that we all are experiencing?
Well, I think that CJ and I kind of got lucky because we already had a bit of a background in this. A year ago, we left Tennessee and moved to Wisconsin to take care of Carla's aging parents. We had rental properties in Tennessee, and not wanting to be absentee landlords, we sold all those businesses. So, all those income properties. Now that we're up here, we have started rebuying income property. So we're getting some money coming in from that. But I think the secret to it is, it sounds like the rest of you are in the same thing. It's diversity, and if you can go on your show business experience and do something that way, or if you can do something that has been part of your life in the past and you can rely on that. I think the secret is just diversity. Find something that's going to carry you through.
Creativity, creativity. Most people in show business are very creative, but it doesn't have to come out in show business. Cody, you're being very creative with developing your business.
Thanks.
Jack is really good with his hands, and he's been doing a lot of that. I went
Don't
back.
tell them that.
Carla, Carla helped me. I had a master's degree. I have several degrees, and I have gone back to school now. To me, that's creative.
It's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll have another master's degree. Writing a book for us has been very creative. With the properties that we have, I know when I first was in acting and music both, the big thing that I was told was learn to do something else, have a backup plan just in case. And so I did. And that was the properties, the income properties, everything else that we do. And all of that stuff makes us a well-rounded but still creative person.
And there's nothing more fulfilling than sitting on the roof for 4 hours cleaning stuff out of the gutters that hasn't been cleaned out for 4 years.
I'll leave that to someone else to do. Now, Carla, Barbara, is Tyler Warnick one of your favorite students?
He would say that he is. Yes.
He's watching.
I know he
who your
is.
favorite student is.
I know. Hello, Tyler.
No, but what's the biggest impact that this past year has had on you?
I'll say this openly that it affected me a lot, emotionally, and I'm sure it affected all of us that way in different levels. It was it's a depressing time, but similar with, I don't know if you know CJ and I have the same first name, so we're both Carlas.
I know that. Yes.
Add that together. So she was saying, going back to school in her case, and I just went back to the things that I was trained in anyway. So I started doing a lot more private voice teaching. I have my master's degree in voice as well, and trying to reach out to people that I wouldn't necessarily have thought to connect with to try to do some master classes, to try to do some coachings, all virtual, but things that I wouldn't have had time for, in the real life.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way that's been kind of great because it's certainly given me, it's still creative, not the same as performing, but helping other people in the performance world. So I really enjoyed that.
That's great. And Robert?
Yeah.
What is the biggest impact that this year has had on you beyond the obvious?
Well, I mean, like with everybody else, it's just one of those things where you've got to try and make something happen, and you do whatever it takes. I mean, I got hit twice actually before the COVID even happened. I had to deal with, and believe it or not, Robert De Niro went public with a lot of mean threats and attitude towards Donald Trump. And that actually took a big effect on me and my work. I mean, a lot of work went right out the window. So a lot of people were mad at him. So I'm sitting there going, what do? I got to reinvent myself.
Mm-hmm.
It calmed down a little bit. How everybody's familiar. He went up and down, a little bit here, a little bit there. So I was getting some work, but then, I ended up doing something else creatively. But for this last year in COVID, both things between De Niro and the other thing that I do in performing, we're sitting there going, okay, what are we going to do? A buddy of mine calls me up. Everybody knows it's my buddy John DiDomenico, who does Trump. Which is kind of funny because we're very good friends. We're the two characters who hate each other in real life. And John turned me on and a few others onto Cameo. And I said, yeah, all right, whatever, I'll give it a shot. And Cameo saved my bottom for the whole year of COVID. I know Cody's on there too. And I don't know who else is on there. I haven't gone through a lot of them, but it's been a complete lifesaver for the year.
That's great.
And now
I want Dr. Bloom to wrap all of this up in just a moment, but I want to say that we could do a whole other show on this instance of celebrities that we have performed at. There was one moment where Harold Channing was misquoted, and I got calls from the venues that I was performing in concern that would affect the audience and everything. So that's another layer altogether. We are getting towards the end of our show, which I can't believe because I could do another hour. But Dr. Bloom, based on everything that everyone's talked about right now on the past year, if you can weigh in with your thoughts for everyone, both here and virtually.
Well, I think that everybody here has demonstrated just how resilient they are. It's you are actors for a reason, right? You approach life as something that is to be explored from all different angles. You become the characters that you are performing. I think people forget that impersonators are actors. And if you're in a play, you're not that person you were in the play when you go home either, right? People forget that. You've gone beyond that. These are, you use your other skills to not just be locked into this character that you do. And that, is really evident from all of you that you've really been able to pivot in that way. And I think pivoting is the key that everyone's really discovered during this whole COVID era that we've been in.
Absolutely.
Cody, I was just thinking as a little aside that your take on stage fright and your whole lesson on stage fright would be really helpful for people who deal even with social anxiety disorder.
Yes, anybody with anxiety or fear. It's really it's the whole psyche thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, so there are other markets for what you do. Is kind of where I'm going. So I think for all of you, it's really inspiring to see just exactly how you developed your other skills and brought them to the fore.
Absolutely. Well, I can't believe this, but we are at the end of another show. I want to thank everybody for being here today. If you enjoyed the show, and I hope you did, please leave a comment either on whatever platform that you're watching this on. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment, hit the like button, because that increases the ranking of these shows and it helps build our audience. So it's very, very important that you do that. Cody, I'm sure will agree. She has her own YouTube channel. Do you all have YouTube channels? Well, Cody does, and I want everyone to go and subscribe to that channel as well. Please subscribe, follow, like, and just imagine your next Zoom meeting with either Madonna or Dolly or Jack or Barbara or Robert showing up to entertain your guest. They are available. And if you want to get in touch with them, you can do it either directly or contact me, and I will forward you in the right direction, because we need to get our faces out there. We're all in this together, as my dear friend David Friedman says. We're all in the same boat, but we're not in this together. You never know what someone else is going through.
That's true.
And just reach out. I always end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything return. Go to your Facebook friends list, no fooling, and reach out to those people that matter to you and let them know what they mean in your life. Now, before we sign off, and I'm going to give everybody a chance to have a final comment. And you can talk about anything we talked about today that you want to expound upon. anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone who's watching right now. And Cody, I am so sorry about the gremlins with your video, but I will post it on my Facebook page. And everyone who's watching today, you'll get a chance to see her at work because it's phenomenal work. And I'm going to start with you, Cody. So any message that you want to put out to everyone right now?
I think, I just want to let you know that I am here to help people into their careers. And I will, if you haven't already got it in there, Richard, I will put all my links to my business and to myself as a performer down below. And that way you can reach me. If you see it down below, you can reach and follow me, please follow and like, because like Richard said, these things are so important that we get subscribers and likers to enhance our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, Richard, you want to know the truth? Yeah, go ahead. Bite. You can't handle the truth.
No, I can't handle the truth. No, that's true. That's true. I can't. So anyway, yes, Jack.
Yeah. I just like to tell everybody else that's on the panel here with us, I hope everything goes well for you. And it looks like we're going to come out of this thing. And I hope that you continue to be successful and profitable and just have a good life.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
CJ?
I just want to say I will always love you.
Great.
What a ham.
Carla?
I just want to say that all the people out there, and we are among them, that are missing live theater, and we all miss live theater. We have it within our power to make it come back if we will just take it seriously and take precautions and just care about each other enough to it's not an advertisement, but do what we're supposed to do, and then it can come back and we can all be much more fulfilled.
Amen.
Take care.
Robert?
I just want to say, good luck to everybody, because, before you know it, we'll all be out there working again. Like Carla just basically mentioned, in a nutshell, that's what it's about. Just do the right thing. Everything's coming back around, but especially to the people out there that are, at home hurting, waiting, trying to do something with their lives. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. You'll see everything will be good. Just keep a positive attitude. We'll all do good.
And before you speak, Richard or Judi or whoever you would like to be today, we will be back here on the 15th with a brand new show. I'm already lining that up, and we're very excited about it. I have a question for you, Judi, and then and I'd like you to have the final word. Is there anyone that you would like to appear as on stage?
That's an interesting one. Amalthea from The Sopranos. I could do her.
Right.
And for the final word, I am going to a tribute concert this weekend that's outside. It's actually tomorrow night. It's outside, socially distant, in person, the first in-person concert I've been to in certainly a year and a half at least, right? And it's with Elvis and Frankie Valli and the Temptations. And I will be looking at that with a whole new eye after hearing from all of you today. It really gives me a whole new level of appreciation for those performers who are going to be out there. And it is just really one example of how things are starting to open up. There is light at the end of this tunnel, and we all have to really, get our shots and get out there.
And one last remark before we go. Greg Thompson, Sunburst Convention, thank you, thank you, thank you. Today's show would not have happened without you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know.